Welcome, everyone. Thanks for your patience. Ellie, roll call, please.
Trustee McAvoy,
Present. Present.
Trustee Wells,
Here.
Trustee Lawson,
Here.
Vice President Marquez,
Here.
President Diaz-Solcom.
So good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's board meeting. Buenas noches a todos y bienvenidos a nuestra junta. If you would like to speak to the board, for those in person, please fill out a speaker's card and give it to Eliana. For those of you online, please fill out the Google Doc. Si desea hablar con la mesa directiva y está aquí en persona, favor de llenar una tarjeta y entregarla a Eliana. Si está en línea, por favor, llene el documento Google. Spanish interpretation is available if required. Si requiere interpretación, por favor, llame al 978-900-5137 y presione 8377-041 y el símbolo de número. Are there any changes to the agenda?
I wanted to make one. And because we have two guests with us this weekend, not this weekend, but this Wednesday, I am asking that those guests be able to present right after you approve the agenda so that they can leave and go to other functions that they're expected at. And that's my request for changing of the agenda for that one item.
So that's 8.1.
That is 8.1. It will come right after the approval of the agenda, before the oral communications.
Oh, do that?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll move the agenda with the change to move 8.1 after 4.1.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Of our guests who are here this evening, we have Peter Ingram, who's our consultant who is assisting us with our workforce housing. And then we also have Joy Coomer, who's with us, who's with TWBH. I used to know it as T something else, but I will not go in that direction. That's what I'm used to. So I believe, Peter, you are going to start first, and then Joy is going to come after you. Is that correct? And there he is. Perfect.
Okay, good evening. Can everybody hear me okay?
Let me see if I can get it up.
Hold on, Peter, if you can wait just a minute, please.
All right, it's on.
Okay, can you hear me all right? Yep.
Yep.
Okay, if I start to lose you, just give me a wave. Okay, well, thank you very much, Honorable President and Trustees and Dr. Baker for having me here tonight. I have a very brief update for you, but I did want to bring the whole board up to speed on where things are with your proposed workforce housing project. So I've got just a few slides here to help keep me organized. So what I'd like to do tonight is let you know the status of the development application that's pending with the city that was submitted jointly with the Sobrato Group. There's been a determination about restrictions concerning the culvert easement that runs under the district property. And there are some project options that are emerging that are still under analysis. And then I mostly wanted to make sure to let the board know what to expect for the rest of 2022, because there are still several important items to take care of to keep this process moving. And essentially there's three activity tracks there. There's the city entitlement process, the application, the financing work that is underway to make sure that the district has a good solid way to finance the project, and the master agreement with the Sobrato Group for the project. So to begin with, what I'd like to do as briefly as possible, because it is very complex and involves a lot of engineering and other things that we don't have time for tonight, but I'll try to make it as simple and straightforward as possible. Essentially, in the review of the initial application, the city staff has determined that they can't allow a building to be in the airspace above the easement where the creek culvert runs through. If you remember, it's 51 feet wide, I believe. And the reason for this is that the city knows that eventually they have to upgrade the drainage system of the entire creek drainage basin to meet current flood standards as well as deal with sea level rise. So they would not have flagged this with the district unless, of course, there's a proposal to change the site. And that's what's triggered this review process. So the final determination from the city engineer is that the only way that the building as previously proposed, which cantilevers out over the easement and has load-bearing foundation on the very edge, is that if the district would agree to replace all the culverts and upsize them in that easement as part of our project. That would involve a lot of cost increase to the project and probably a couple of years of permitting with various agencies. So your committee, in their initial consideration of options, has agreed with our recommendation, which is that is not a good option for the district. It is not going to serve your purposes and let you achieve your goals. So now we're in the process of determining, well, what are the options if we can't build over that space, that part of your property? And essentially, your committee has said to us, the team that's working on this, keep as many options on the table for future board consideration that maximize the number of housing units for the workforce housing, and take off the table any option that involves culvert replacement and/or lowering the unit count. So those are the parameters in which we're now exploring the potential to move ahead with the project and essentially redesign it. There's probably 3 or 4 options that would come back to the committee and eventually to the board for consideration. And the ones that are the most potentially promising are also the ones that have the most legal questions, sort of city policy, planning policy questions, and environmental review questions. So we've begun the process of discussing with city staff, both planning staff at a senior level, as well as the city attorney's office, trying to understand how the issues in those 3 different categories could be resolved to the point where your team could come back to you and make recommendations for a project that has the least amount of risk and the most potential for actually getting approved and built. So that's where we are right now. We have lost probably 9 to 10 months from our original pretty aggressive schedule because of this issue. So there has been, if you're sitting there thinking, gosh, it's been a long time, we submitted back in early June. So it's been almost a year since the initial application went in. The good news is that this appears to be the significant problem to solve, and it is probably going to get less onerous and less time consuming going forward. And in fact, we went through the schedule, and if the city stands by their commitment to us to get the momentum back up and move forward, we could still see you occupy a workforce housing building in the first half of 2027, as we had anticipated some time ago. So the overall schedule is still not in danger, but it's made it mightily challenging to have this long process in the front. Let me move us forward here. Oh, there we go. So next steps in 2022. The first category is the city entitlements. And so I've listed the key activities that we expect to transpire between now and the end of calendar year 2022. Number one is probably the most important, and your board will be involved in this hopefully as early as June. And that is in parallel with the Sobrato organization deciding what makes sense. We want the district to come to some informed decisions on what they prefer, and then let's see if we have consensus with Sobrato to move ahead. Assuming we do, assuming the board gets there and has something they feel is in their interests, then we would need to revise plans, get them back into the city. And you can see here from the schedule that we create a 30-day cycle of a 60-day cycle of turnarounds on resubmittals and comments. Our hope is, and our planner who's assigned to us says that he expects a total of 4 rounds of comments should be sufficient. If that's the case, it's hopeful that we could have the final submittal ready in December for the last city comments, and hopefully their deeming of our application complete. On the financing side, you're aware that in a parallel process that the district has begun, there is a bond measure process moving forward, and the successful passage of that provides the district with sort of the assurance that there is a way to finance the project and leverage other monies to the full extent possible. We are continuing to pursue and explore potential funding sources from outside of the district and from other sources. And as you previously have heard from your team, we can finance approximately 2/3 of the project with certificates of participation that would be paid down by rental income from the property. So that piece is still moving, and a lot of that work has been done. The models have been built. So if we get a different project for board consideration, we can pretty quickly analyze the cash flow and financing demands of a new project. And then finally, and very importantly, we have this master partnership agreement with the Sobrato organization that needs to be completed. As you can see here, and this will show you how long you've been in this feasibility process. Your 2-year feasibility period expires in August. So our goal is to get the board to August and be able to frame the question about feasibility in a way that hopefully you would find that the project is feasible and you choose to move ahead. So that's an important milestone. It's not absolutely cast in stone. If the board needs more time and Sobrato needs more time, that can probably be extended. But we really recommend that we do our utmost to get a deal together and to execute an agreement with Sobrato by the end of the calendar year. So that is our aspirational goal for the district, and we're setting our schedule to that. So in summary, the major actions and decisions that your board will be considering in the rest of the year is to determine the best project to submit, to refine our affordable housing plan, which is being informally reviewed by city staff, to get the deal points for term sheet on a master agreement together and to execute that agreement. So with that, Madam President, I'll stop and just hear if there are any questions from board members, and thank you very much.
Thank you for the presentation. Are there any questions by board members?
So Janet and I are on the committee, so we vetted this. So it's really, if you or Mike have questions.
Okay, so there is
Oh.
no questions. Again, Janet and Alyssa are part of the committee. And again, there is no questions at this time. Then we have Joy next.
All right, Joy is a host. Is she a host now, Wendy? Yes, so she can use her presentation. Yeah, she's a panelist right now. Okay, go ahead, Joy.
Good evening, everyone. Joy Coomer, and I'll just keep it simple. We are now going by props and measures, so you can forget all the initials and just remember props and measures. So I'm here tonight to talk a little bit about the GO bond planning and our timeline. I too have a brief presentation, which I'll share. And then if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer them afterwards, or if there's questions while I'm presenting, I can do that as well. Assumably everyone can see the screen again. Very good. All right, so this first slide really is a big overview of the overall process. We started with the feasibility that was looking at, doing a survey for a GO bond in November. Currently, we are in stages 2 and 3, community awareness and putting together that measure, building the measure. That includes writing the resolution, the ballot question, the project list. And you'll see in our timeline that we'll actually be coming back to the board with presentations on all those different steps so that you'll be able to see the whole process as we move through it. The board does have to call for the election by that August 12th date to move forward and be eligible for the November 8th, 2022 election. Everything in the green box on the advocacy campaign, those are things that are done by a private independent campaign committee, things that cannot be done by a district, but certainly things that people often think of when they think about moving forward with the GO bond. So I have it there just so that you can see it, but those are separate from district activities. So a quick look at the survey overview. I just wanted to hit on a few top points, just to remind everyone that our results did show that voters have a favorable rating of the district. And those who, there was though a good percentage, nearly a little over 30%, who just didn't know or needed more information. And that really is an opportunity for us to do some outreach, especially about the need. We did see, though, when asked, over 60% of voters agreed that the district had a need or a great deep need for additional funding. And that helped the initial support for a potential GO bond measure. Just a reminder that the measure does need 55% support in order to pass in November. Even with the margin of error, we were sitting at 62%, so well within passage rate. Most importantly, support for all the potential projects was high. All projects had support close to or over 60%. And there was plenty in tier 1, I would say over 10 or a dozen projects that were actually over 70% for support of those projects. And at the end of the survey, after hearing more about the potential costs and the projects and other information, support actually grew to 63%. So we are in a very good situation to be moving forward and continuing to do outreach to the community. Some key takeaways. Obviously, we saw that there were people who did need more information. So community members do need information to help understand about the school needs. We should make sure to keep, when we're being open and transparent to the costs of the typical homeowner, we want to make sure that it's also communicated in very simple language so that it's easy to understand for everyone. Oftentimes, we're talking in these complex numbers that don't mean a lot to people, especially since we're talking about assessed valuation. So anytime we have the opportunity to say what this will cost to the typical homeowner, that will help. And then also, celebrating the success of phase 1, Measure T, but also being sure to talk about phase 2 and any other future phases. We all know that there is a lot of need for the district to do upgrades and maintain all of the different school sites. And so just making sure that people don't feel like if we do this or we did Measure T, that was supposed to be done. This is an ongoing process, and even though schools may look really nice on the outside, there is still work that needs to be done on the inside. Our communication goals over the next 2 months as we do outreach to the community include, giving a little bit of information about the facilities master planning and the phasing of projects so people understand that process, increase the public knowledge about the need, and in our community engagement, we'll be focused internally on parents, staff, everybody that we see on a regularly day-to-day basis at the district. External communications include elected officials, business leaders, and known community members, just to make sure that everybody is involved in the process and they know what's going on. And then the last layer really is all registered voters. So just keeping everyone who will be receiving a ballot in November aware of the district's plans so that they know there's a potential to vote on something. And then the last thing in our communication goals is making sure that we're not just talking about the bricks and mortar, but that we're really focused on the need and benefits to students in the classroom. We know people are more supportive when they're reminded about the benefits of the project to the students in the classroom and not just focused on furniture and bricks, so to speak. So our timeline right now, we really are in the process of telling the story, defining the phasing of projects, and doing the community outreach. We are working next week to send an informational communication to all parents and all registered voters. We will highlight the success of Measure T, go through what's going on with the facilities master plan, and help set the story for the need of phase 2. We're also working with the district staff to create an online survey. So even though we did a very scientific and robust survey regarding the need for the bond, this is just an opportunity for us to hear feedback from all community members. So everyone who receives the mailer will have an opportunity to provide feedback, and we'll make sure that that's available through a lot of different means. We'll be posting that to social media accounts, the website, and looking to other media opportunities. We are also providing all materials in Spanish and English, so that will be available on the website as well. We'll also begin working with Bond Counsel, the financial advisor, and district staff to begin working on that resolution, the project list, and the tax rate, the final amount that the bond will be for, and all the details with that. And the reason is that in June, we are continuing our outreach, but we are also coming back to the board on June 1st. We'll have an opportunity to go over some of the outreach updates. And you'll also hear from Bond Counsel, from the financial advisor, and they'll be able to go through all of the different documents that you'll be making decisions about as we lead into August, when you'll be voting on a potential GO bond. There is an opportunity in June to consider a tracking survey if one is needed. Right now, our results are strong, but if something were to change, we do have that opportunity. And then at the June 29th board meeting, we are planning a first reading of the resolution and project list. Again, just another opportunity to see that before the board votes and provide any additional feedback if needed. So then before we know it, we are in July and August. So we will begin to finish our outreach through July, any other items that are needed. We will look to send a second informational piece to all voters. We'll be talking more about the specifics of the proposed GO bond. We'll continue to invite that feedback, and again, we'll post that to all of the district media channels and share it all means that we're available. And then right now, we really are looking at that August 10th board meeting. We've gone through a very comprehensive and transparent and open process. So that will be the time to take the resolution and make that final decision about whether to move forward with the November 8th election. And you'll have an opportunity to vote on the resolution. And so that meeting should be much quicker because we'll have gone through this process. And if the board does vote to move forward, we will work with the district staff to conduct a training, just making sure that everyone understands their conduct during a bond. They can always provide information and answer questions, but making sure that they understand that advocacy is a separate role. So that was my quick presentation for the evening. But I'm happy to answer any questions that any board members may have going forward. Oh, I was going to share one more item, just in case it's helpful. I just thought I would share a look. I realize you may not be able to read these, but you can see that the materials are both in Spanish and English. This is just a fact sheet that is available to share. The district does have PDFs of both of these. They are on the website currently and would be available for events or other opportunities when you're out speaking to community members. So it does provide a big overview of the process and a little bit of information about the needs facing the district.
Thank you, Joy, for the presentation. My only comment, I think, is your presentation is obviously very thorough, and I believe we're doing it in the city. And so, any comments from the board members?
I had one question, was just for the communication that's going out next week. Is that the Measure T postcard, or is it a different? Is it something that's like what is going on in May 16th? It's not that PDF that you just showed, right? It's something else.
No, it is something else. It actually is a folding mail piece that we'll be sending out. We are, though, working with, I spoke today with Will, and we're going to help make sure that we get that postcard out first. So we're making a few edits. We're working with their team right now to make a few edits, and that will mail first, hopefully on Monday or Tuesday. And then our mailer that's got more information about the needs facing the district will mail later. So we had hoped that one would already go out, and ours would go out next week, but I think this works well too. So we'll be able to coordinate and work together to get that moving.
Thanks. And yeah, we're balancing microphones and speakers here. The other one was in the timeline. If the resolution is adopted in August, is the external campaign committee able to begin work over the summer, or does it have to wait for the resolution to be put on, to be passed to begin?
Well, actually, just because we have worked with the district several times over the years and helped out with the independent campaign committee, I do know that there is some outreach currently going on, and there are some people who have expressed interest in helping. So I do believe that would begin to start up over the summer, and probably they'll feel they have more direction after that June 1st meeting, just because the board will have had an opportunity then to sort of see all the pieces and, begin to put the pieces together to move forward to that August date. But I do think that is already moving. And so the committee may not be doing a lot of things formally till after the board vote, but I do think they will start forming and doing some things to get ready.
I just wanted to say thank you for the update.
My pleasure. Thank you, everyone.
Did she say something? Oh. We didn't hear her.
Joy, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just said it was my pleasure to be with you this evening. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you. So on with the agenda, bond program. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, we have Catherine Campbell.
Go ahead, Catherine.
Yeah, she's on. She's not on yet. There she is.
She just may need to unmute herself. Oh, okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks. My name is Catherine Campbell. I'm a longtime listener, first-time speaker. I've been in the district for 25 years, 10 years teaching at Hoover, and 15 years at Henry Ford, where I am teaching second grade presently. I'd like to read a letter that the Henry Ford staff wrote together. Dear esteemed trustees and Dr. Baker, thank you for taking the time to acknowledge this letter and hear our voices and concerns at Henry Ford. It has been brought to our attention by our first grade parents that they have been invited to attend a new second grade classroom at Roy Cloud School. It's unfortunate that we were not directly notified of this decision and found out through our families, as this action directly affects our school community. Building a fourth second grade class at a single school creates inequality in other schools throughout the district. This decision divides the Redwood City community and may take away the choice of parents in their individual communities to attend the neighborhood school that families have been attending for generations. Students learn best when they are in a heterogeneous environment, and pulling students from schools in order to attend a single school compromises the balance of the other learning communities. This action also impacts our staff for years to come and causes a ripple effect. Teachers work to build relationships amongst their team members, and it is becoming more and more challenging to make these connections with the realization that classes can easily come and go each year, and teachers must move along with these classes as they disappear from one school and are moved to another. As a result, staff morale has been on the decline. We are working to meet all the needs of our students, and we pour our hearts and our souls into our work. After a successful start in our lower grades, students are being encouraged to leave our program. The passion we demonstrate for our students and their well-being does not appear to be acknowledged or appreciated. Rather, we feel it's being devalued. We need to be building strength in all of our schools and supporting students throughout the district. We would be saddened to see the Redwood City School District, a district for which we care about and nurture, become one of elitism and division. The decision to open a fourth second grade class at Roy Cloud, along with the looming decision of the North Star Forward Committee, implies that we are not providing a quality education for our Henry Ford students. We've heard concern from some parents explaining that they wish to stay at Henry Ford, but they do not feel that the district is supporting the longevity of our program. They are concerned about what will happen to their neighborhood school in the near future. It's our hope that the Redwood City School District will support the growth and strength of every school, enabling the professionals of each learning environment to continue to develop programming that will enrich the lives of our students, create lifelong learners, and perpetuate a solid learning community from one end of Redwood City to the other. Thank you for hearing our concerns. Respectfully, the Henry Ford staff.
Thank you. Do we have any more oral communication, Ellie? So on to bond program consent items. Can I get a motion?
Sorry.
Can I get a motion to approve the bond consent items?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Moving on with item 7, bond program action item. Recommendation to approval regarding approval of structural upgrade project construction, change order number 2 for 3150 Gringer Way, site with E.E. Gilbert, and adoption of utility resolution number 34.
Does anyone have any questions?
You can. Okay, hold on a sec. Go ahead, Will.
Well, just an FYI, Cecilia, your voice is being like duplicated. And I think it might be because of the boardroom attendee being non-muted, but just an FYI. And then does anyone have any questions on this action item?
No, you need to keep yours on. They just needed the boardroom.
All right.
I just needed the board. Okay.
All right. So what do you want to do?
Turn yours back on.
Thank you. It's on.
We'll ask if we have any questions. I don't have any questions. All right, so I'll move this item.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, guys.
And moving on to, thank you, Will. Moving on to consent items. Do we get a motion to approve the consent items? So moved.
I'll second.
And on with item 10.
I'm sorry. It's okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so on with item 10, action items. 10.1, recommendation regarding adoption of resolution 33, authorizing electronic meetings of the Board of Trustees during a state of emergency pursuant to Government Code Section 54953E.
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to approve this item.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Board and Superintendent report. Who would like to start?
So we had a wellness committee last week, I believe, and Katrina did a great job leading that meeting. We had a really good discussion. And let's see, we had a bond committee. I guess there's 2 bond committees now. So there's the bond feasibility study committee, which is what I attended. And then there's the bond that's for the construction right now for Measure T. That's a different committee. And then also I went to a Safe Routes to Schools meeting today. That's it.
Yeah, I visited Henry Ford on a couple of Fridays ago. I joined the coffee with the principal, and then Principal Knopf toured me around the site. I even got to see some 5th graders packing up, getting ready to go to outdoor ed, which was kind of exciting. Yeah, so it sort of felt like, you know, back to school again. I saw Kennedy Middle School had the performance of High School Musical Junior. The Measure T bond program team got toured around the Taft construction, as did other people as well. So that was fun to see. And we had a program team meeting. There was a kickoff meeting for if you remember at the last board meeting, or a couple board meetings ago, Liz and John were talking about a well-being center that they went and visited. We had a kickoff meeting about how can we do something similar here. So that's just getting started. The MTSS meeting, that was fun. I thought you'd be interested to know, spent half the time at least talking about the equity policy that the board passed last year. You know, in my breakout room, what they did is they had, I don't know if this was the program for everybody because I joined a little bit late, but each person shared about 2 minutes about the sentences and phrases that resonated with them most. And then each person got to sort of talk about their reaction. I got a lot out of it. It was really enjoyable. And then last night was up at Roy Cloud. They had a community conversation about racism, and they had some very courageous panelists telling their stories and how their students and themselves, their families have been impacted. So I was glad that we had put that in.
Okay, so I also attended the wellness committee meeting and both bond meetings. And then Elisa, we also had a policy meeting, I think earlier this week with Wendy. I attended the Kennedy High School musical as well, and it was fantastic. And Mike's daughter did a phenomenal job. She's very talented. And all the kids were so great, and they hadn't been on stage in 2 years. So it was really, really neat to see them back up there performing. So, and then I also attended the community conversation at Roy Cloud last night. And Greg with SFSS did a really good job. And, you know, I think there's a lot of work to do. And I was really proud of the parents that did want to speak. And I think we have a lot of work to do. And so we need to have more conversation.
How many people were there?
20 parents?
There were 20 parents, yeah.
Thank you. I also attended the Taft construction site walk with Mike, Will, and Don and Martin. It was great to see. Mike.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, yeah? Okay. Okay, can you hear me now? So again, I also attended the Taft construction site, the walk. It was, beautiful classrooms, site, the admin building. It was just, I'm sure kids are going to be totally looking forward to being, you know, 4th and 5th graders. 2-story, just phenomenal building. Also attended the Baker Wellness Committee, which was great. Have, you know, everybody just talk about mental health for our students and being able to give feedback and get everybody's input. It's actually great. And then I also attended the RCEF. There's, you know, several events. So I attended the Fiesta event where board of directors, community members, and parents, River City parents, they had a former Washington Post reporter, had a short discussion with Ana Herrera, our Taft principal, and she was able to give some of the challenges, speak on some of the challenges her students face, and also Pati Ortiz spoke. She's the interim executive director of RCF. And then spoke about how RCF is, what they're doing to support our schools in need. Again, and providing mental health specialists to each of the Bayside schools. And that's it for me. John.
Let me turn this on. So a lot of the items were already mentioned. The only thing I do want to remind you, and it was brought up, you know, earlier by Mike and Janet, there is some work that needs to be done. And it's not only at that site, it's going to be district-wide. So be working very closely with Michelle Griffith and Greg Peters to start off with our administrators. The week of the 16th, there's a half day that we're doing with him. He's going to plan out how we can get PD not only to our staff members, but also our students, and then also our community members. It's because in meeting with principals this week, I started my, you know, towards the end of the year meetings with them. It's not only happening there, it's happening at other school sites. So we have some work to do, and I'll be bringing this more to you in a future date. Okay. And then just one thing, you all have the right date and time for Taft. You all got an invite today. Okay, just want to make sure, because I know Mike and Elisa and I were going back, we remember Monday, the time we were worried about. It is at 10 o'clock. Okay, but you have an invite, so it's in your mailbox. Right, that's it.
Thank you. Any correspondence? Any correspondence?
I mean, I think the one that was read tonight.
Okay. Other business suggested items for future agenda? And board agenda calendar, are there any changes to the board agenda?
There will just be one coming up. There'll be one coming up, and I need to check your calendars. And that is to have the time with myself and board members. And I was hoping that you could either do like a Monday, the 19th of June, maybe in the morning or half the morning. If I can.
That's a Sunday.
Oh, sorry. It's the 20th then. Thank you. Looking at the wrong date on this tiny little calendar.
Okay, so what was that? I'm sorry?
The 20th, if you have that available, and it would be like from 9 to 12. Perfect.
I could zoom in if that's helpful, but I won't be in town.
Zoom would be fine if you can zoom in. It'll be a closed session regarding my evaluation.
Okay. Yeah, so if you don't mind me just
Yeah,
zooming in.
yeah. That's fine. If that's okay with you, Lisa, that's,
Yeah, that's fine.
Perfect.
Yeah, I know it's hard to get a date.
Yeah,
so we should-
yeah.
if everyone
And
else
if I can get
Maria,
everybody,
do it?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Oh, okay, right. She's out for a little bit.
Yeah.
All right.
I definitely will bring it to her attention.
Okay, and you said from 9 to noon.
9 to noon, yeah. And that's the only one I have.
Okay. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, before we do, I would like to just say to the audience, we apologize for the technical difficulties tonight. I don't know if anybody did that, but there was some issue with the boardroom communication system, so we had to go back to using our individual computers. So thank you for your patience. We're trying to do hybrid here, so it does allow people to participate and hear our meetings from home, but it is a more complicated process for us to administer. So certainly if you ever want to come down here to the boardroom, you can hear us probably more easily than you can from home, certainly tonight, but we'll try to do a better job next meeting. And again, sorry for the technical difficulties, but we'll get those fixed. All right, thank you very much. And with that, I'm happy to make a motion. And I just want to say, hey, congratulations to Cecilia. First time leading the meeting as the vice president, filling in for Maria tonight. So thank you. Okay, and I'll make the motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All those in favor, do it.
Bye. All right, bye, everybody.